Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Femmegineering Women of Influence. My name is Hanna Abdel Hamid, and I'm your host. Today, I am thrilled to welcome a true innovator in technology and leadership. With 19 years of experience across industries like automotive, aerospace, healthcare, and also the public sector, our guest has driven impactful change across 3 different continents. Her expertise covers everything from project management to digital transformations. Our guest is also a dedicated advocate for ethical AI and diversity in tech. She is currently serving as Google Women Techmaker Ambassador and also an Ontario lead for women in AI. As an executive coach, she empowers leaders and especially women leaders in the tech industry to navigate AI responsibly and also align it with their values. So please join me in welcoming Nammi Sriharan, a dynamic leader who is committed to positive change and to mentorship in tech. Thank you so much, Nammi, for joining us today.
Thank you, Hannah, for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to the discussion.
I am looking forward to it as well. So, this is how I would like us to go and talk about your impressive career. First, I would like us to start by deep diving into your journey in tech. So, can you share with us your personal journey into the tech industry and tell me a bit about what inspired you to pursue a career in this field specifically?
That's a very interesting question because I'm a non-traditional tech person. You will know what I mean when we go through the discussion. But I began my career with a strong background in project and program management across multiple industries such as automotive, aerospace, where I spent majority of my career. Then I have the one thing that I always constantly valued is keeping current and enhancing my skill set to align with where the industry is changing, the world is changing. So it was the evolving landscape of industry and my personal interest that sort of fueled my desire to transition into tech, which is a move I contemplated for the longest time, but unfortunately the demands of my job at the time hasn't really given me the time and space to do that transition. Pandemic being a blessing in many ways.
A blessing in disguise, as so many people say
Exactly.
it. Yes.
Exactly. We have to look at the positive side of it. So the pandemic gave me that opportunity, downtime for me to take the necessary steps towards transitioning into tech. So at that time, I had the time and privilege to go for a 1 year long program and study AI, and that sort of fueled me my interest into wanting to know more about AI and how the industry is changing with AI. And from there, I think it just eventually everything sort of the puzzle started to fit together.
To fit together,
And that's
yes.
how I transitioned from aerospace industry into a public sector, which is a 360 change as its own. And that's when my tech journey officially started. So that's why I say I'm a non-traditional tech person, because most of the time people think you have to have tech in your blood. Um,
In order to
your
go,
education
yes.
to be a tech person. And I use my story to advocate to people to say that, you don't have to be, um, you know, born and brought up in tech to be a tech.
And tech to do it. Yeah. I actually like this. And one of the questions later on that I would like to revisit with you is how women who are in different sectors other than tech and who do not have this technical background, and I think we had this discussion a while back, me and you,
Yeah.
that even myself, I got into the tech industry years ago, but I'm not an engineer. I don't know how to code, but somehow I found myself and I'm thriving in the tech industry. So this is actually a point I would love for us to delve deeper in later in the conversation.
Definitely.
Now, going back to your career, you have been in aerospace, you have been in automotive, and these are all fields that are not they're not mainly fields where women tend to go. And then you transitioned again into the tech industry, another field where women are not predominant.
Yeah.
So I have to say that you must have a lot of experience in facing challenges, entering fields that are not female dominated. So perhaps you could share with us some tips or some challenges that you have faced going to these domains.
I think the gender equality, gender gap on the industries that I have, um, worked in is real. So, like I started in manufacturing, and manufacturing
Mm-hmm.
is very famous for having a gender disparity as well. But, like to me, even though throughout my career worked in male dominated fields, I really didn't face that as a challenge for myself, because the thing is, we have to be confident in our skill set and the capabilities we are bringing to the table. As long as you know what you're bringing, I think the
Mm-hmm.
gender is a secondary thing. If you can show the leadership that you have the capabilities, you have the skill set to excel in a field that's mainly male dominated, I personally haven't faced a challenge in terms of, okay, you're a woman, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't really faced that. I think it's maybe because the way maybe I purposely not wanting to mold me into that, and instead of that I wanted to be a voice in the table. So sometimes when you go into a meeting, and if the meeting is full of male, you just pull a chair and sit with them, and
Mindset. Mm-hmm.
don't think of you as the odd person out, like be one of them. Like, I think that's how my approach been. Like, right off of university, I started in a male dominant world, right? So yeah, like I was the only female in my team, but that doesn't mean I was treated any different than a male colleague. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I will still have to do everything a male colleague will do. And I was able to grow in my career, showing what I can bring to the table, right? Yeah, there are times that if I have some, especially in the automotive industries back in the days, it's not safe for a female to go to a plant.
Yeah.
So, and especially, you have to be dressed in certain way to go to a plant because of the
For
culture.
safety measures or yeah. Mhm.
Sometimes my boss will send a male colleague along with me, but that doesn't mean that I faced any challenges going in.
Challenges.
Bottom line for me, if you treat somebody as a human, you're going to be treated as a human. So,
I definitely agree with you on these points that, we have to find our voice and we have to take our seat at the table. But let me challenge you a bit on that. How do you navigate, let's say, for instance, many women that I've spoken to, like whether in conferences or like in lectures that I've given, they find it hard because, for instance, they feel most of the time overlooked for promotions when it comes to their male counterparts in the tech industry. And it's not because they're lacking the skills, and it's not because they're lacking the education. They even sometimes feel that they have more expertise and more education than their male counterpart, but they miss on the promotion. And most of the time, they feel that this is occurring because, for instance, their mothers, they have kids to take care of. So how do you navigate that, or what advice would you give women who have been through this situations? How can they overcome them, and how can they continue pushing forward to grow their career even if they don't have someone advocating for them in their workspace?
so I'll put my executive coach hat for that a little bit, because
Please do.
one of the things that as females we do is when we look at a job description or something that we are interested in,
Mhm.
but then we look to make sure that every single item on the job description, we meet the criteria before we even put ourselves out there. And sometimes the other thing is we think our work has to talk for ourselves, our capabilities, that us PRing ourselves, right? So
Mhm.
those are some qualities I think as females we are born with. We think, okay, the work is going to talk, and we don't have to promote ourselves or put ourselves out in the open for some of these promotions. But the reality says most of these promotion talks happen in a coffee room or in a lunch room.
Hmm.
It's not like I have to sit in my job and do my job properly to be able to be looked for a promotion, right? So sometimes I think it's us taking that initiative. Maybe it's out of our comfort zone. Even for me personally, it's out of my comfort zone because I think my work has to talk for myself. But sometimes I have to purposely take me out of that mold and put me to say, okay, I got to, if I don't look after for myself, nobody else will.
Nobody else
Right?
will. That is
So
definitely true.
we got to keep that in mind that it's us who needs to advocate for us to be able to get these promotions. If we don't do that and we expect a promotion to be given to us, the reality says that's not how it's going to work, right?
Hmm.
And also from a job opportunity point of view, even if you don't meet 10 out of 10 in that job description, even if you meet like 4 out of 10, put yourself out there, apply for it. So you send a message to your organization that you are looking to
Looking for
grow
it.
in your career. You want that opportunity. And whenever you have your annual reviews with your leadership, make that known, because if we don't make them known, nobody is going to know that we wanted to be promoted, we wanted to go to the next level, right? Sometimes we might lack certain skill sets, technical or soft skills.
Soft skills.
Then your manager, your leader will be able to help you gain that from exposing you to an area where you might not have thought that I needed to expose myself into learning that, right? So those are the things that I think it's important for us to do. And I don't think there's a perfect formula. Like personally, myself,
Hmm.
I have been overlooked for promotion like 4 times in a row. And my answer to that was like, okay, I'm resigning, right? Because when you are being shown, because I've been told you're young as an excuse for a promotion as well. You have time,
Hmm.
you're young as well. And to me, as an organization, they can tell you what they're going to give you or how much they're going to pay you, all those things. But it is you. It's us who controls our destiny. We have free will, right? So if an
Yeah.
organization is not supporting your career growth needs, maybe that is not the organization you want to grow in. So
To work
again,
in.
it's something we have to make that decision for ourselves in terms of, do we want to continue to be in that culture and think that we are going to be helped to get the promotion, or do we want to spread the wings and expand our boundaries to look for that opportunity, right? uh,
Yes, I really like what you're bringing to the discussion. So, if I can sum up, we need to advocate for ourselves, number one, because if we don't do it, no one else will. As women, we should put ourselves out there more. And in essence, unfortunately for us, unlike men, if we don't take all requirements, we don't even take a chance on us. We need to start taking more chance in us, even if we don't have everything, because at the end of the day, you make a very good point. You mentioned that during COVID you went back and you started learning, so education is always accessible. So even if we don't have all the skills, we can learn them, and this should not be a hurdle in our way. And one other point that I find very interesting, if you feel that the organization that you're in is not helping you advance your career or is not seeing in you the potential that you have, perhaps we can start looking elsewhere in order for us to make our dreams, and we should not close the doors in our faces, kind of.
exactly, because again, it's our dream, our so you own your dream, right? So don't
Hmm.
let anybody put you down, don't let anybody shut your dream, right? So keep your dream alive and go for it.
And go for it. I love that. Thank you, Nami. And Nami, you have such an amazing career, as I mentioned, over 19 years of experience. If I can ask you, can you name one specific? I know it must be hard for you, but if you can name one specific moment that you feel that this was your breakthrough. And can you share it with us?
I think going into aerospace industry was my breakthrough. And that actually happened unplanned for me because I was in
Mm-hmm.
automotive industry and at the time the recession happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I was forced, I guess, to look for a different job. And at that time I moved to US for a job. And unfortunately, one day I was coming home and I had a terrible car accident. And I was home for a while because I couldn't, I was injured. So I was home for a while. And then I started looking for a job and I found a job closer to home. And I was like, okay. And it was a contract job, but I needed a job. So I went for it. But that 1 year contract job turned into a 16-year journey in aerospace industry for me. Again, it's something that when I walked in there, I did not know anything about aerospace. So I will sit in meetings and all these acronyms will surprise me. You're like, okay, what's, you know? But 16 years later, it became almost my blood for me. And I thoroughly enjoyed, and it gave me a perspective that beyond measures for me in terms of giving me a wealth of experience from a global perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to work in Mexico, US, Europe, and also it's not just knowing the job, but knowing the culture and how each culture responds to a situation, right? So to me, I think that game set me up, set my stage up for who I am today in order to be able to, do all these advocacy I'm doing for women
Yes.
and all those things, how I can work with multiple different communities. It just all these global experience I gained from my aerospace industry is sort of set my stage for who I am today.
So we can definitely say that aerospace gave you wings.
Definitely, yes. It's in my
Yes,
blood, so like I still follow
that
it.
is great.
I'm still closer to the industry.
Yes, this is actually an industry that I'm learning more and more about, given my work
Your
with Sigma
role.
Software, because we have a very strong aviation and aerospace expertise. So
Uh-huh.
more and more now I'm immersing myself, learning acronyms, learning everything that has to do with aviation. It's a very interesting field, I must say.
Yeah,
Now, if we can go to the question that I told you, I would like us to delve deeper in. Many people believe that to go into tech, you have to have a coding background or you need to be an engineer or somehow. But we are both examples that this is not actually factual, that people from non-tech background can actually transition their careers in the tech industry. So if you can share with us, Nammi, some tips to the listeners about how to transition from a non-tech background to a tech career, and what roles that are, in the tech field that are not very, let's say, coding.
non-tech.
Exactly. I didn't want to say it in the tech, non-tech, but yeah, let's go ahead and say that.
I think there are numerous non-technical roles in the tech. Actually, there's not just one,
Hmm.
two. Um, there are numerous roles that's crucial for a success of a tech project as a whole, right?
Hmm.
So roles like product management, project management, business analysis, UX, UI design, digital marketing, customer success management. These are just a few examples, I would say. These roles mainly requires strategic thinking, communication, problem solving skill,
Hmm.
and the coding itself, right? So if I take me as an example, like I said in the beginning, I'm a non-traditional tech person. So do I know coding? Yes, I know coding because I went to school and that was one of the things that purposely learned during pandemic. And that was my personal reason to learn only because when I talk to a counterpart or when I talk to somebody in a project world, I want to know the language I'm talking to about. Like, so
Hmm.
if somebody wants to talk to me in a technical terms, I want it to be able to understand. But that is not something everybody needs to do because you have in a project team, you have your subject matter experts who are experts in coding, experts in solution architecture, or
Hmm.
anything that per se. But you need to be able to bring all of those people into a cohesiveness. So, like to me, I manage digital transformation projects now, and my skill sets of project management, program management into like automotive and aerospace is completely transferable skills into tech in order to manage that tech project.
Hmm.
That's how personally I was able to use my skill set to transfer my knowledge into a tech world. Because at the end of the day, from a project management perspective, you are managing a project, regardless it's a commodity based or a software based. You're managing a project and you need to know the project management skill set. But you don't need to know the coding, or you don't have to be the developer who's going to build these Azure clients and all these
Yeah,
to do the work. But you need to be able to coordinate these different partners of your project team to come to the end goal of your project deliverable, right? So there are many, many different options. For people to non-tech people to come into tech. But
into
when
tech
you're applying for it, think it in a way how your current skills can be transformed into
trans.
a requirement of a tech job that's asking, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, like make sure you cater your resume to be able to tell the story that you do have this experience, but in a different form, but you can transfer that knowledge skill set to the requirement of the job.
One thing also that I think most people tend to forget is that soft skills are transferable. And as you mentioned, some of the skills you have learned, like for instance, in a customer success role, your ability to communicate, your ability to coordinate,
Exactly.
this can also be transferred. So I like the point that you brought up customer success, because I think it's a good example. Someone who is, let's say, in the construction domain, who has worked in customer success, can also go ahead and be a customer success in the tech field. So it's very important to continue, like to remember that you can transfer your skills. And Nami, you mentioned earlier that you went back to school, and I'm pretty sure there's many classes for people like yourself and like myself who are transitioning or transitioning to tech, but they would like to also have some knowledge. So if you can share with us some classes that you took, some podcasts that you listened to, or some journals that you're reading to help people get their tech knowledge.
So, like personally, I believe in upskilling my skill set every year. So, like, I choose a course that fits my growth plan, and
Mm-hmm.
where I wanted to lead go to. So, for example, when I wanted to go to the AI space. I took a 1 year program with York University in Toronto that was like divided into like a 6 months and 6 months. So it's like a two certification but bundle thing,
Mm-hmm.
which gave me the like the initial certification gave me the background or basic knowledge into like for example Python coding. Like to me, Python was like brand new. I didn't even know A or Z on Python before I started. Throughout the course, it gave you the knowledge to be able to build on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, I don't think there's a magic answer to take this course or to take that course, but look to see where you wanted to grow in your career. And then like there are a lot of I guess learnings available through LinkedIn or Coursera or Udemy.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of options available, but also think in a way, if you're a non-traditional person moving into tech and you want your resume to stand out, would a course from an online platform stand out, or would a course from an institution stand out?
Stand out,
Because
yes.
for a job, when you're applying for it, there's going to be like I don't know, like 20, 30, even like sometimes 100, 200 resumes for a certain job. And if you
Mm-hmm.
want your resume to be picked, if your resume to be stand out, then look for that one course that could potentially be the breaker for your resume to stand out. Because everybody can access courses in LinkedIn. Everybody can access a course but if you do have financial constraints, then that might be an option for you to take it, but you may want to use that skill set in addition to something else that you may have to build your profile, right? Because it's all
Hmm.
about, in today's world, it's all about getting your resume
Noticed.
visible human so that
Yes.
your resume can be picked. Most
Hmm.
companies unfortunately use ATS these days to screen your
Yes.
resume, and you might run out of luck if you are not picking the right courses that would stand out for you. So I think
Or
in terms of that, yeah, course, I would still prefer a traditional institutional
university or
education,
college.
just so that if you're doing it on your own personal need, then any course might be okay. But if you're looking to use that course to get a job, then you may want to use a traditional institutional course.
Okay.
As far as the journals and things that I follow in order to keep up to date, I closely follow World Economic Forum because
Okay.
their information is pretty up to date, and it's very useful if you are trying to keep yourself updated. I do listen to a variety of different podcasts in Spotify
Hmm.
whenever I'm driving, but keep yourself up to date. But what fits me might not be the what fits
Yes.
everybody.
Yes.
So just
Definitely.
try to, I guess my advice is, wherever your space is, try to find things that will make you change with the world. Obviously AI is changing the world, and
And
when
we
you
need
go
to
to
change
bed
with
and
it.
wake up in the morning, things have changed. So if you are not up to date, then you're falling behind, right? So
Yes, that is actually great advice. And before moving to the next segment, I just think it's important to highlight you mentioned something very important. Think strategically about your career. And we need to always know or have an idea of where we would like our career to go and structure either our education or the way we approach the next step in our careers in a strategic way. I think this is a point that many of us might miss. So I just wanted to highlight it because it's important that in every step we make when it comes to our career, we have to think in a strategic way as to how to get from point A to point B in our career. Now, Nammi, I would love to discuss with you your initiatives that you're doing with Women in AI and Google Techmakers. Can you, first of all, explain to us what each organization does and what is your exact impact with them?
So, both Women in AI and Google Tech Makers, the focus is on closing the gender gap in tech and AI
Hmm.
by providing mentorship, education, and networking opportunities. Very similar missions. They support women by offering access to trainings, events, programs designed to upskill women and empower them into take leadership roles. Obviously, Women in AI is a global, it's a different organization than Google Techmakers. So Women
Yes.
in AI is a global nonprofit. It was founded in Paris, but in Canada it was started in 2020. So just about 4 years.
Hmm.
And Google Techmaker Ambassador Program is supported by Google. And there's a application process they do on an annual basis. And they review and they pick based on your background and what impact you can bring to the collective network
Hmm.
as a whole, right? So these are all things that I started picking up when my journey into AI started just about 4 years ago as well. With the
Hmm.
Google Women, I've been with them for about a year and a half or so, and with Women in AI, it's about 3.5 years I've been with the Women in AI. So right now, my role is with Women in AI. I act as the Ontario ambassador for Women in AI, as well as I
Hmm.
Toronto chapter of Women in AI. Again, these are some things that I never thought I would do, because prior to moving into the tech space, I was very work focused, and it was just work and life kind of thing.
Yes.
question my ability to just take on some of these roles myself, but there are people who had more confidence in me than I have confidence in myself. So they pushed me into taking this extra stuff, which
Hmm.
I don't regret a bit now. These are volunteer jobs, so you have to find time in
Time to
your
do it.
busy day, but it gives me so much passion and like it gives me so much pleasure doing these things because you see how your volunteer time impacts another
Other
person,
people.
right?
Yes.
So yeah.
And you know what? To your point, you need to have time, and you also sometimes you need to be with people who believe in you more than you believe in yourself. And this is something that I always tell when I go to when I give workshops or lectures. Most of the time, I get a question, Hannah, how did you get that far? How do you do it? And I always tell them I surround myself with other people who can see the light in me, even if it's just darkness,
Yeah.
or people who are stronger than me who can teach me something. So I don't know who believed in you more than you did, but I just want to say thank you because you're doing a great job. And I follow closely Women in AI. For example, your hackathon that you have every year in Canada. I was a speaker last year. This year, unfortunately, because of my work travel, I wasn't able to do it. But if you can talk about this more, because I find it such a great initiative from Women AI to do an annual hackathon with a different topic every year. If you would like to shed a bit of light about the reason behind the hackathon, why you do it, and what is it you want to accomplish by holding a hackathon every year?
So a hackathon is something. It's just one part of what we do in Women in AI. So Women in AI, like I said, is a global nonprofit. We started in Canada in 2020. We have representation across 8 different cities in Canada. Toronto, obviously, being the
Hmm.
largest, and I've been leading the Toronto chapter since January 2023. Like I said, like it was, I was encouraged by someone to take on this role that I wasn't even ready to, but it just gives me the joy that Women in AI, the opportunities it has opened up. So, part of Women in AI, we have our mission falls into 3 different pillars: inspire, educate, and connect. So,
Hmm.
in the educate pillar, we do hackathons once a year, but we also have other events like mentorship programs, awards, networking events, panel discussions, career fairs. So throughout the year, we do variety of different events. Hackathon is a once a year activity, and we thought it's a good opportunity for people to bring out their skill set. Um,
Hmm.
and in a very friendly type setting. This is not just participants coming up with the idea and developing the idea. We provide the mechanisms behind the scene. We give them mentors. We give them on a weekly basis. We do workshops and speaker sessions so
Hmm.
that people can be inspired about the topic that they are at hand and how they can eventually start with the seed of the idea into the product at the end of the journey of the hackathon. So it can be about 6 to 8 weeks long. And
Hmm.
throughout that, we strategically plan these workshops and speaker sessions so that we give all the tools needed for the participants to take their seed into a real life example. So this year we just finished it last week, our hackathon, and 3 teams won their prizes as well, similar to last year. And I was actually at teaching session yesterday, and there happened to be the top 2 teams, and the appreciation that they show for you to bring out these events is like immense, right? So it just gives me
Yes.
pleasure. The idea, like for us, is again, it's fits with our mission, and we get great support from our sponsors to be able to bring these events together. Our speakers, our workshop leads, our mentors all volunteer their time
Hmm.
back to the community. So we cannot do something like this extend without the support of the community. And it takes a village to pull an event like that. And not just us volunteers, but all these speakers and sponsors do a great part in pulling an
Hmm.
event like that.
That is
In terms
awesome.
of a topic, we try to look for something that's meaningful in the AI space in the year, and that's how we come up with the topic. So there's a quite a bit of planning goes behind the scene, and we have a great team that pulls this together.
That is great, actually. I truly enjoyed my participation last year, and I look forward to hopefully have the time to participate next year.
For sure.
Because yes, the topics are very interesting. If I recall well, this year's topic was about green energy, and which I find honestly it's very, very brilliant because every year you bring a topic that has a great impact or is making waves across the globe. And now, Nami, talking about helping people and saying the appreciation, as you mentioned, from the two winning teams. Let's talk about how to support females from marginalized communities entering the tech industry. One question that I have for you: what is the biggest barrier for women from marginalized community to enter the tech industry?
I think the biggest barrier is a lack of access to quality education,
Hmm.
resource, and networking opportunities. On top of that, I also think there's a confidence gap is mainly due to the underrepresentation from their own communities in the tech space.
Okay.
Financial constraints, like obviously can prevent a woman from gaining skill sets or necessary breakthrough that they need to move into tech space. But there are also, I guess, answers to some of these constraints. For example, the financial constraint. There are organizations that supports upskilling with
Okay.
funding from the government. So if you are not able to go to a traditional institution to upskill yourself, then try to look for these organization that does the upskilling with the help of federal government, right? So
Hmm.
from a like a individual perspective, they don't have to have the financial backing to do the education. So these organizations, such as, I'm not advocating for any of them, but I'm just giving a couple of examples. A Career Foundation, Access Employment, these are organizations we in Women in AI work with as well.
Hmm.
And they not only help you upskill, but then they will also help you get a placement in company, right? So
Okay.
they do a cohort based upskilling program. Try to connect with them, try to look up their opportunities, and there could be many other organizations like that. But you don't have to use the financial constraint as a boundary for you not to go into tech or not to explore
Hmm.
your career aspirations, right? So there are options out there, so explore those options to break that gap.
You make a very good point when it comes to financial restrictions. And what I feel it's a pity, I feel it's a pity that women from, let's say new immigrant women in Canada, for instance, or women who are like second generation immigrants are not aware that there are so many opportunities out there to go and seek government funding or funding from organization like the one you mentioned. And I feel that perhaps there need to be more communication from these organizations or from the government to reach out to these people in their communities, because sometimes you have people who arrive and they stick within their communities, they don't go out of the community, so they have no knowledge. And I remember we had a conversation, me and you, a while back about actually women filling out applications for funding and they don't continue because they don't think that they could get it, and there's all this problematic. So I was wondering, just your personal opinion, how can we overcome this barrier of people just filling out the forms to get the funds or to get the scholarships?
Say, like we as women in AI, we advocate thoroughly to make sure that we make the process easy for these marginalized community people, and they don't feel the constraint by some of these things that they have to do. Especially, they might be a new immigrant, they're coming to a new country, and there are a lot of things that they have in their mind, trying to juggle a lot of different
Mm-hmm.
priorities. So these things might not be easily accessible to them. But Women in AI is just one set of community. There are multiple communities out there that supports the new immigrants or marginalized community. For example, we work with Black in Tech, we work with Latinos in Tech. So these are communities that particularly Women in AI is a tech-based community,
Yeah.
but there are communities that's cultural-based communities as well, where they will potentially might be easy for people to communicate in their own language or own cultural way that might make this process easier. I know like the thing is, most of us advocate for example, with this Femme Engineering podcast, you are trying to help females to get inspired to come into tech as
Yes.
well. So we have multiple different organizations with the same goal. Sometimes I wonder
Mm-hmm.
what the impact we can create if we put our hands all together, because I
Together,
think
yes.
that will be a larger impact, but maybe it's a way to go. But I think we all trying our best to reach out to like one or two people that could potentially have the ripple effect in terms of
Mm-hmm.
going. You mentioned, or you touched on the topic that you and I discussed in terms of a scholarship program. Women in AI is an organization that basically we're 100% volunteers, and one of my volunteers unfortunately passed away a few years back, and we were
Oh.
given an opportunity to start a scholarship on her name. And we've been doing that for 2 years in a row, specially targeted for Hispanic community, because her mission was to support Hispanic females into tech.
Mm-hmm.
And our application form is very simple. It's like 5 questions, very simple questions. And it supports, and it's not AI education, it's a STEM education. So it's a
Okay.
rather large as well. But the exposure, we partner with some of these Hispanic community groups as well to bring out this scholarship, but the exposure we get is very minimal. So my um, thought was like, okay, why are people not applying for this?
Mm-hmm.
And some of the things that I explored throughout that research is people basically similar to what I said in earlier in the job application process. People don't want to put their name out thinking they're not going to be able to get this.
To get it, yes.
So you're shutting off your opportunity before you even explode your opportunity. So that, I think, it's everyone has to do their own work to be able to come out of that mold. It's okay if the answer is no, but if you're not trying, it is a no, no matter what.
Yes.
So give it a try. Give it a try regardless. So I think as females, we have to make that conscious effort to change our mindset. And with all these different initiative, like you're doing, we're doing, um, I hope one day that stigma of women putting themselves down by their own self,
Yes.
we could potentially break that stigma to say, okay, we are okay to apply for it. If the answer is no, it's a no. There's another
It's no.
opportunity, right? But go for it.
Thank you so much, Nami. So, to summarize our great podcast today with Nami, so number one, non-traditional career in tech can exist. So go for it, get the education or the upskilling you need, but try out. Also, don't be afraid to advocate for yourself, because if you don't do it, well, chances are no one else will. And
Exactly.
finally, it's okay to get a no. No is a future yes. Let's put it this way. So please
Exactly.
go out there and take a chance in yourself. Nami, thank you so much for being with us here today. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I'm pretty sure that everything that you have shared with us today is going to be an inspiration to young girls and to women who are seeking career in tech. Thank you so much, Nammi.
Thank you, Hannah. Thanks for the opportunity.
My pleasure.